All right, so buckle up, because we're diving deep into The Shining, and we're not just talking about a haunted hotel here.
No, no, this is way more than your typical horror flick.
We're going to explore the psychology behind it, how Kubrick used all his film genius to make it really get under your skin.
It's wild how a movie made so long ago can still have people debating,
It's
right?
absolutely.
And that's what we're here for. We've got this essay, breaks down a lot of expert analysis, plus we'll pull in some insights from this video essay.
Oh, nice. So most folks, they think haunted hotel, creepy twins,
Yeah.
right? But there's layers to this thing like an onion.
Definitely.
So we're going to ask, like, is the Overlook actually alive? Like a real being?
Hmm.
Did Kubrick plan out those impossible hallways on purpose to mess with us?
Yeah.
And was Jack just losing it, or was there something else pushing him over the edge?
So many questions. Well, let's start with Jack himself.
Okay.
Even before he sets foot in the Overlook, this guy, he's not exactly a poster boy for stability, is he?
Not exactly, no.
Our sources point to career troubles, drinking a bit too much, maybe even hints he was violent before.
Yeah, he's definitely got baggage. And then going to this isolated hotel, it's like pouring gasoline on an already smoldering fire, right?
Perfect analogy.
So is the Overlook creating these demons in Jack, or is it more like it's just amplifying what's already there?
That's the core mystery, isn't it? The isolation, for sure, it cranks up the pressure on his mind.
All right.
But then you've got the ghosts. Are those real or just Jack cracking up?
Right, right. Like Lloyd the bartender.
Yeah, Lloyd, the Grady twins.
Those scenes are so eerie. Hard to tell if it's supernatural or just Jack's brain going haywire.
Totally.
You were talking about Kubrick being a master visually. So how does he show Jack's descent, like on the screen?
Yeah, a lot of visual cues, actually. The color red, for example, it pops up everywhere.
Hmm.
The more unstable Jack gets, the more red we see, almost like it's reflecting his anger, the turmoil inside him.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even his clothes, subtly, they go from these calmer greens to aggressive reds.
Huh. Like a warning sign for the audience.
Exactly.
And the camera work, too. I remember that video essay, they talked about the Steadicam, how it creates this feeling of being stalked.
Oh, absolutely. That Steadicam, it's not just for style. It's putting us, the viewers, right there with the characters, trapped in the Overlook.
You feel it, yeah.
Constant unease. Something could be around every corner.
And then the layout of the hotel, it's like intentionally impossible, right?
Oh, yeah. People have tried to map it out. It doesn't make sense spatially.
Doors leading nowhere, windows with views that shouldn't be there. It's disorienting.
It is. And that's Kubrick at his best. Making you question what you're seeing adds to the dread. It's not about jump scares in The Shining.
Right, it's more psychological.
It's the slow burn, the feeling that something is deeply wrong.
Exactly. But then we're left with all these unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Like that final shot, Jack, in the photo from 1921.
Yeah.
Did he just become one of the ghosts?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Kubrick loved ambiguity. Leaving things open-ended makes the film hit harder. He's not giving us answers. He wants us to come up with our own.
It's true. Keeps you thinking long after the movie's over.
It's like he's saying, hey, what do you think is happening here?
Exactly.
What's your interpretation, listener?
I like that.
It's part of what makes the film so engaging.
And then all those little details that the video essay pointed out. The disappearing chair in the Colorado Lounge. Ganny's dopey sticker vanishing from the mirror.
Kubrick, such a master of the subtle details.
Right.
They seem small but add to the creepiness. And then there's the number 42. Danny's shirt in the dialogue, even room 237 if you multiply the digits.
Oh, wow. I never put that together with room 237.
See, all connected.
So beyond just a haunted hotel, there are some serious interpretations out there. Native American genocide, Holocaust parallels, even Kubrick's own struggles as a filmmaker.
Right, heavy stuff.
Are we reading too much into it, or were those things intentional?
It's hard to say what was in Kubrick's head, but the film, it's open to multiple readings.
Right. And that's part of what makes it so rich. It's like an invitation to look deeper, find what resonates with you. Let's examine the evidence from the sources.
Okay, let's do it. Lead the way. All right, so let's get into some of these deeper meanings. You mentioned Native American genocide. What's the connection there?
Well, the essay points out that the hotel, the Overlook, it's built right on top of an ancient Native American burial ground.
Oh, wow.
And there's all this Native American imagery throughout the hotel, like everywhere you look.
Hmm.
The carpets, the art on the walls, even the Calumet baking powder cans in the pantry.
Like hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, exactly. So how does that link to genocide? Well,
Yeah.
some folks, they argue that the whole movie, it's a statement about colonization, you know, how Native Americans were driven from their land.
Right.
The Overlook, because it's built on this sacred ground, It symbolizes that erasure of their culture, their history.
Makes you think.
And then you've got Jack, the caretaker.
Yeah.
He could be seen as like the colonizer,
Right.
bringing destruction to this space. That's a powerful way to look at it. Okay, so what about the Holocaust parallels? What's the evidence there?
So there's this scene, Jack's using a typewriter, and it's a German model, specifically the kind they used during the Holocaust to, like, document victims.
Oh, wow, that's chilling.
Yeah, some people believe Kubrick chose that typewriter on purpose, to draw a link between the horrors of the Nazis and the violence in the film.
But Kubrick never comes out and says any of this directly.
But and that's the thing, right? The Shining is so open to interpretation. You can find all these layers, but he's not telling you what to think.
That's true. It's up to the viewer to figure out what clicks for them.
Exactly. Some theories, they'll feel stronger than others, but the beauty is the film allows for those conversations to happen.
Sparks debate, yeah.
Okay, so we've got genocide, the Holocaust. What about Kubrick's own struggles as a filmmaker? How does that fit in?
Yeah, that one's interesting.
Well, think about it. Filmmaking, it's demanding, it can be isolating.
Oh, yeah.
And Jack, he goes mad, right? Some see that as a reflection of the pressures of creative work. The writer's block, the frustration, that feeling of being alone.
I can see that.
It's something artists often deal with, and maybe Kubrick was putting some of his own experience into the film?
That line always gets to me. When Grady, the ghost butler, tells Jack, "You've always been the caretaker." It's like he's destined to repeat this cycle of violence.
So creepy, right? Like history repeating itself. Maybe the Overlook, it's this place where the past is always bleeding into the present,
Yeah.
trapping people in these awful patterns.
Like a cycle they can't escape.
Right. And then you've got that photo at the end, Jack, in the July 4th ball, 1921. It's almost like he's been absorbed by the hotel. Just another ghost in its collection.
Yeah, it does make you wonder about that reincarnation idea, right? Like the one from the sources.
Definitely. There's a sense of, like, past and present identities getting all mixed up in the Overlook. Remember how they talk about Charles Grady, the caretaker who killed his family?
Oh, yeah?
His story, it gets confused with Delbert Grady, the ghost butler Jack talks to. The timeline doesn't really fit, almost like there were two Gradys doing the same terrible things. It's like the Overlook itself is making this violence happen over and over, drawing in people who are vulnerable to it.
But hold on, what about that alternate ending, where it's implied none of it really happened?
Oh, you mean the one where the manager visits Wendy and Danny in the hospital? Says there were no murders?
Yeah, he even gives Danny that same tennis ball that we saw earlier.
Ah, that ending. Throws a curveball, doesn't it? Almost like it was all a shared delusion, or even something from Danny's Shining.
Right. Kubrick keeping us guessing till the very end.
Classic Kubrick move. It's like he's saying, think you've got it figured out, not so fast.
He loves to mess with us.
Yeah. But regardless of which ending you prefer, The Shining has had such a huge impact culturally. All the homages, the theories, other filmmakers who've been inspired by it.
It's true, it's everywhere.
That's the mark of a genius, right? Kubrick didn't just make a horror flick. He created a phenomenon. Still sparks conversations today, decades later.
Like he built a puzzle box and we're still trying to solve it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered Jack's breakdown, Kubrick's style, these historical connections, and how the film continues to be influential. But I think the big question remains, what does it all mean?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what makes The Shining so fascinating.
Right.
A true work of art, it doesn't give you easy answers. Instead, you get this dark, ambiguous look at what it means to be human, and we're left trying to understand it all.
So if we're not supposed to walk away with, like, a clear explanation, then what are we supposed to get from The Shining? Why all the creepy images, the psychological stuff? What's the point?
Well, the sources seem to suggest that maybe the hotel itself isn't the ultimate evil here.
Oh.
Maybe it's more like a channel or a magnifying glass for something darker that's already inside us.
Like you mean human nature itself? Like we're all capable of evil?
Exactly. The Overlook. It could be a mirror showing us that darkness that humanity has within it. The ghosts, the violence, the feeling of being completely alone. All of that just makes the potential for evil that's lying dormant inside us all even stronger.
That's kind of a bleak way to look at it, but it does make sense given how Jack's own demons seem to get amplified by the hotel.
Right.
But what about Danny? He's got The Shining, but he seems to be fighting back against the Overlook's influence, not like Jack at all.
Danny and his Shining, it's this weird mix of a gift and a curse, you know? He
Oh,
can see
right.
the supernatural stuff, but that makes him vulnerable to it, too.
Yeah.
But Danny's different from Jack. Danny's got a good heart, a strong connection to his mom, Wendy.
Hmm. So maybe those human connections, love, empathy, just belonging somewhere.
Yeah.
Could that be the key to resisting the darkness of the Overlook?
It's definitely possible. Maybe The Shining is really a story about how powerful human connection is, how it can help you fight isolation, despair. Even with all the horror and violence, there's that bit of hope in Danny and Wendy's bond.
Yeah.
They lean on each other for strength, for support. And in the end, it's that connection that helps them survive the Overlook.
That adds a whole new layer to the film, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It's not just about giving in to our worst impulses, but about how important it is to find support, connection when things get tough.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons The Shining still resonates with people, I think.
Makes sense.
It forces you to look at the darkness, both inside yourself and out in the world. But it also hints that there's hope in our relationships with others.
Well, I've definitely got a lot to think about after this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's clear The Shining is way more than just some scary movie.
Right.
It's about what it means to be human, the choices we make, and what happens because of those choices.
It really makes you think.
Yep.
And it leaves us with one final thought-provoking question. If we think of the Overlook Hotel as this entity, this force that feeds on our weaknesses and loves isolation, what is it that it ultimately wants? Why this family? And why is Danny, with his strong Shining, so important to its plans?
Definitely some creepy questions to ponder. Thanks for guiding us through this maze of a film.
I had to be here.
Listener, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely ready to watch The Shining again with a fresh perspective, see what else I can discover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.